Hi, so this is Lebanese, and I'm very happy to be here on Create Day. It is something for me very important. We decided last minute to join, and I'd like to take you through our studio in Beirut, Lebanon, which is a very strategic location where the large blast happened 1 year ago. And what we've done is we've kept this boutique. So we have a boutique here downstairs, and on the second floor of this building, we have our studio. And just to let you know, this building is a 1930s building, and it remained strong during the blast. Although everything around us was completely falling apart. Just going to take you into our studio, boutique, and you can see here, we've if you can see the ceiling, it's completely still broken and devastated from the blast because I felt that it was really important that we keep a little memory of this very, very awful day. And what I've done inside is a kind of installation where we keep the debris of the pieces of wood that broke from the windows, such as these. These are the window frames upstairs, and we started to create furniture out of them. And if you can see how we put these together, and what I do is I work with Middle Eastern craft, and I grew up in Japan, so I've used my Japanese aesthetic philosophy of less is more and applied our Middle Eastern craft on more minimalist approaches. And this is why we call it contemporary craft using Middle Eastern law. So here you can see how we've created these marquetry strips that kind of keep these panels, these strips of wood together. And we call the collection Keeping It Together because we're not only keeping together the cabinet, but we're keeping ourselves together. And when the blast happened, we created a campaign that says our space is destroyed, but we are not. And for us, this is a very important statement because we wanted to keep Lebanon on the design map and to keep our craftsmen going. So what you see here are some broken pieces also, and really, it was very, very sad what we went through. So I'd like to take you around now. You can see the ceiling all fell down. So today we have made this space installation room. So passersby will take a look at a little reminder of what happened during the blast. I'm going to take you now up to our studio. You can see this is our boutique, and the boutique and the building it's a beautiful So we'd like to see the building from far. So this is our little boutique that we built, and you can see how we said keeping it together, because this is exactly what we're trying to do at this moment in time. So we talked about the blast, but we also have a very strong crisis going on with gasoline shortages and financial problems. And what we want to do is we want to keep ourselves going, keeping it strong. And I'm going to take you now up to our studio. And even inside the building, you will see that there are some unfinished broken parts, like the wall here. all these windows have been restored. And you can see the elevator, the glass was affected by the elevator. It's a beautiful, beautiful building. And I'm going to show you if it appears. There it is. So literally the port is 500 meters away. And then behind me, you will see how the elevator was completely pushed back by the pressure of the blast. So we're walking up. I love this little chair for people who want to sit. So here's our logo for our campaign. Our space is destroyed, but we are not. We're keeping it as strong as possible. And here's our studio. So welcome to our studio. And this is a space that was an old Lebanese house in a typical old Lebanese apartment. And what really is very specific about these apartments is that there's marble on the floor. And I love the fact that they put marble, and this is what they call this a salon. And what we've done is we have our offices, our studio, and our sample room, which I will show later. So here you see the marble space, the salon, and you will see that around the salon you will have these rooms that have these colored tiles, and these colored tiles are like almost carpet. So each room has like a different carpet. What we've done in this room is that we've used up the boutique, which has home accessories, and we've made this into the room where we sell our home accessories. And as you can see, we work with different crafts. We pride ourselves in our craft techniques. For us, it's very important that we modernize our identity. And so our work is to support the craftsmen in the region. So here you have some trays and home accessories. We work with glass. And here you can see that very typically in our part of the world, we use mother of pearl a lot, but this is done in glass. Here's a fruit bowl with mother of pearl. I started with this collection here below with the dark wood. This had this kind of Zen feeling, which is very Japanese, where I grew up. And then I applied the thin inlay patterns of Middle Eastern designs. So it's really a collaboration or a combination of the two Easts, when you think of it, the Middle East and the Far East. And what we do is we try to experiment with different craft techniques. So this is like block printing, straw weaving. Here you have the picture. So we make home accessories, furniture. We always try to attempt to work with craft and push the craft techniques and levels. This is a cabinet. You see here, using marquetry, and we play with all the veneers of the wood. And what's interesting about this marquetry technique is that not only are we putting the colored wood veneers, but we are actually outlining it, and this is all inlaid by hand with tin. So it creates almost like an illustration effect. This is another cabinet that we're keeping it together collection. And you can see all the hinges, the doors. Here's a sample of the Converse. This was a campaign by Converse for the Chuck Taylor sneakers, and they each gave us the sneakers to play with. So we created a kind of, I guess, a pair of shoes that are made for the modern geisha. So now I'm going to take you around to the gallery space. Here we have a corridor that is aligned by all the offices. And here you'll see a carpet that we made in Afghanistan, in Kabul. And this was a collection made by women who, and the whole initiative is to empower the women in Kabul. And today I checked on the women. I know that today the situation in Kabul is not good, but they've been doing okay and they've been working hard. So far, they've been taken care of and no harm to them. So we're very happy about that. We're known especially around the world actually for our Pebble Table. And this is our Pebble Table that's quite popular. And what's nice about it is that it can change shape according to your seating setting. So, yes, and then as you come here, you will see that last year in 2020, we had a collaboration with IKEA, and we were asked to create about 50 pieces of products for what we call the Ramadan season. So they were plates, servingware, cushions, carpets, and these are some of the pieces here that you'll see. And what I've done is I've worked a lot with geometric patterns because this is something that we work with, which represents our part of the world, but it's also, geometry is what I believe something very universal that everyone can relate to. The collection has mostly brass. We worked with brass and we worked with fabric and ceramics. So I'm going to take you now to, today's a Saturday, so our studio is off, but this is where our designers work. Now we're experimenting with embroidery on straw. So you can see how we're playing around. These are Palestinian patterns done on straw. So as you walk around the space, you can see how the ceilings are so high. And we really didn't do much to the space except just paint the walls. And we love the high ceilings. We love the spaciousness, the light in the room. This is another room, which is kind of like our workroom. And this is where we actually work with our hands. Here is a collaboration that we will launch soon in the UAE. It's a collaboration with IRTI, which is an initiative to empower, again, the women makers in the UAE. So you can see it's like a bit of a mess, but I think that's the beauty of it. And here we're working with some leather strips. We're creating some containers. Some tools. Now we're back in the salon. And here we show our latest collection. So you can see that we have a beautiful view outside, very bright. And here we show furniture items, we show sofas, coffee tables. And every piece you see has some kind of craft in it, because this is our main focus, is focusing on contemporary craft from the region. And here is what we call the funketry cabinet. And funketry is really a play on marquetry, so we called it funketry. And I'm going to explain to you later how these patterns were made. So this is the cabinet that we use marquetry strips. Just a few days ago, this book just came out, and I'm very proud. It's called Woman Made by Fiden Publishers, by Jane Hall. And we've been part of the book, and so happy to be in the book along with Zaha Hadid, India Mahdavi, and people from our region. So we're very happy about that and proud to be in this book. I'm going to take you now to my little office, which is just a room full of inspiration. So I just put all kinds of books and objects that I collect. And sometimes these are what inspire me for my next collections. And just to show you a little bit where my office is, you'll see that it's on a corner of the building, and you might be able to see a little bit of our street and how charming the buildings are. Here on the right-hand side, you'll see something that's a little bit Art Deco, and some buildings are from the 50s. So here we have like really a mixture of 30s, 50s, and then here on the camera now is a contemporary version. This is a building that's still a little bit broken from the glass, but one by one they're fixing. And I'm going to take you into. And this sample room is really the pride and joy of what we do. And this is a room that has all kinds of craft techniques. And because this is what I care about mainly, is to come up with new craft techniques, keeping in mind. So when I first started, I focused a lot on mother of pearl because it's something that's very, very prevalent. So when I arrived to craft, they were much more into very modern furniture. And I wanted to kind of look at how craft was made and try to come up with and give it more value and elevate. I started to work with craftsmen, and then I would just introduce them to new techniques or new materials. So as you see here, there's always a play of tin inlay, mother of pearl, marquetry, hand carving, concrete. We work with concrete as well. Resin. We play with resin. We get the craftsmen to lay out things in resin. And embroidery now. So you can see how we're working with so many different materials and different crafts. And each time I try to attempt a new craft technique and go in depth and then find a way to contemporize it. So you'll see all kinds of samples. And this is kind of like a room for many designers, interior designers or clients to kind of play with me, and we come up with products together. I guess now we'll just sit down and I'll show you one of the craft techniques that I love, which is what you saw over there with the marquetry. So typically, I don't know if you've seen this backgammon game. Very, very typical backgammon game. It's often sold in souvenir shops. And I've often wondered, like, how was all this detail made? And, we often take this for granted and we never actually looked into it. And so I started to look into how it's made. And I'm going to show you what it was how amazingly detailed it is, and how beautiful a product can come out when you actually learn how to the original technique of it. So I'm going to start with the basics. So here, for example, if you take some solid wood and you cut them into little diamond shape or square shape, I don't know if you can get a close-up of it, and we turn it around, you can actually create these beautiful patterns. Can you see the patterns? And basically, in the same way, they take this long piece of wood, so this is cut a bit. So if you get really close up to it, you will see that this is made of tiny bits of solid wood, triangles, linear elements, squares, diamond shape. And what they do is they combine it together in a strip, and then you turn it around. And when you turn it around, you slice it. And when you slice it, this is what comes out. And this is what is then applied on those backgammon games. So you can see how much work is involved all through this whole box, inside and out. So all this is made using this technique of putting these tiny little veneers and tiny little triangles all put together. So I thought, what can I do with this? And how can I come up with a new way of doing this? And I noticed that these woods are mainly natural colors. And so I wanted to introduce something a bit more contemporary. So I decided to add color. And when you see, this is our version of it. So look at the back. So you can see here how we created a little bit more of a contemporary pattern, and we applied the red color. And of course, this is much longer because what we did is we cut it. But here, you'll see the other side. And you see the other side, it's all beautifully designed. And so what we've done is we've created so many samples of this. So here you'll see all kinds of samples that we created. Some we kept contemporary, traditional. And here are some of the more modern colors and modern designs. And what you saw in the cabinet earlier is a play on that. So here's a version where we called this shift. So this was a cabinet that we created. It's just a part of the cabinet door. So we shifted the pattern. So we played with it in a graphic way. And then the cabinet that you saw just outside in the salon was really using it on what we call pleated wood. So we applied it on the sides of this pleated wood. And what I found is really interesting is the fact that one way you see things and the other you see another. Here's a gray and white and black version, which I love. This is also one which is with stainless steel and mother of pearl, and just something like using very bright colors. And what was really interesting is the fact that we curve it, and Mira, maybe you can get me the little curved bowl. Thank you, Mira. So here is, for example, what we thought was very interesting about this is the fact that it turns, it curves. And so we applied it on a curved object. So this is a little jewelry box that we're working on. And so this is what we do with really craft. We just see how far we can push it. And I think it's only the beginning. I think there's so much we can do with this and more to see. I don't know if you have any questions. Did anyone have any questions? Maybe sure. We can check. Okay. Any chats?
No.
Okay, so this is it, I guess. Thank you very much. Thank you for attending. And
we might do a small Q&A now.
Okay. Okay.
I'm just waiting for a few people.
Okay.
If you want to talk about anything else that we prepared no, we still have like 15 minutes.
No,
It's 45 minutes.
aquí?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, if you have any questions, we're happy to answer.
Which is blocked.
Okay.
It's still live.
Okay, I'm going to take you just a little bit here. Show you some of the newer pieces. So maybe just to show you where the market rate can apply. So here we created a book stopper using that marquetry. And here you'll see some bowls. And let's see where we can go. Oh, and here, this is our dining table using the marquetry. So you can see how we applied this marquetry around a lot of details. Here, very sharp curves. And we opted to create the form, a very bold form, because we feel that people are looking for simple, pure designs, but then there's more attention to actually the details and craft itself. Just behind the right next to me, you'll see here also a bench that we created using hand carving. So you can see the legs of the organic shaped bench, which is hand carved in a degradation fashion. And so this is like just showing a much more softer feeling of the wood. As you go up, you'll see that it gets less and less. And this is what holds it together. How long oh, we just got a question. How long is you to develop
You want me to read
a
it?
product and to
Decide what technique you want to use.
decide what technique you want to use? Actually, this is a really good question because sometimes it takes me a year or 2 years for me to come up with an idea. What I usually do is I ask the craftsman to create some samples for me. I would have an idea of a technical sample, and I would put the sample on my desk and leave it on my desk sometimes for 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. And then, there would be like a eureka moment where either a client comes, an interior designer, or I'd be thinking of working on a collection, and I'd be inspired by either the designer, and I would just connect this product, the sample, with the end product. So sometimes it would take about a year or so. Other times it would be like overnight. But what's very important for me is that what is highlighted in the product is the actual craft technique, so that you can kind of feel that there's a process, that there's a handcraft. And we kind of believe that it's kind of this handcraft injects soul into the pieces. For me, handcraft is a meditative and spiritual act, and and I think it's I always equate it with cooking, because when you're cooking for someone you love, the food is so good, and we can't really explain it except it's a matter of energy. And so I think that what we feel with the pieces that we're making is we want people to feel the human energy of these craftsmen. When they're doing the repetitive work, there's a sense of peace. And I think it's very healthy for us to feel it. And I think people are very much attracted to this meditative aspect of craftsmanship. So I want to just show you a collaboration that we really enjoyed working on, which was my collaboration with I don't know if you saw earlier in my studio, in my office, I had some, and I used to play around with playing with craft on the heels. And Mr. Rossetti actually visited our studio a few years ago, and he noticed that I love my shoe. Years ago now, in 2018, and we launched this shoe, which is a sandal, and we made the actual heel, and they created the sandal. And we were really happy with an Italian shoemaker. And you can see how we experimented with different heel designs. So we applied the craft in different ways, like you saw here. We even tried marquetry, thin and bay, mother of pearl. Like this would be like that. I think it would have been cool too. So I think that's it for now. And I want to thank everybody who has watched me on Create Day 2021. And wish you a beautiful 24 hours. Thank you so much.